Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Fluffy, and I'm back with another episode of Worries and Wine. And as you guys can see, I have David Cunningham with me here today, everyone. David, go ahead and tell the people hello.
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me to speak.
Oh, thank you for coming. Y'all have no idea. I have known David for a long time, and to see his progression is great. And we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, I want to go ahead and I don't know if you guys remember when I had Rhonda on the show. Rhonda had this wine, and it was called a Apothic Crush. And I have bought this wine several times since then. Don't judge me about how much I've been drinking, okay? I'm not a drunk, I promise. But this wine it's more on the tart side. It is a red wine. It does have a very like caramel smooth finish. So if you guys are looking for something that's about under $12, head to Walmart, Apothic Crush. They also have it at Bevmo. Wherever you can find wine, make sure you guys go and get it. And of course, David has his wine. David, can you please tell us what you have for us today?
Yes, I have a nice bottle of Chenin Blanc from France. I love a French wine.
Oh,
It
well,
tastes
excuse me.
it tastes really good. It tastes like a sweeter Chardonnay, and it's really good. So you guys
Okay.
should check it out.
Well, I'm definitely going to add that to my to-do list. So that's why I love having different people on here when we have different flavors of wine, because then I'm always trying new stuff. And then it seems like I'm a whole wine connoisseur when I go and I'm looking for wines and they're like, oh, I've never heard of that. And I'm like, me either, but it's okay.
I consider myself to be a wine connoisseur myself. So
Okay.
yeah, I love wine. I have wine shipped to my house every month. So I'm a part of one of those memberships.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I need some information on that, but we're going to talk offline for that. So, as you guys know, I have said that I have had the pleasure of being able to know David from the time he was a teenager up until now. And I did tell you that his progression has been super awesome. Knowing him as an at-risk youth, and now seeing him as a very successful adult, which I'm going to let him tell you guys about himself, and then we'll get into that and some of the adversities that he has been experiencing while trying to get into public office. So, David, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're headed.
Yeah. Again, thank you for having me here on the show. Getting into public office, I've never dreamed of that. One day in my life, I just never thought I'd be running for LA City Council or any public office. I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to pursue law to help others who came from similar backgrounds as myself. I was, a former foster youth. I
Mhm.
am a former foster youth and former probation youth who experienced homelessness, who at the age of 12 and a half, 13, sought shelter as a homeless foster youth, um,
Mhm.
got arrested, for residential burglary after being found sleeping in abandoned homes. Um, from then, going into the juvenile justice system, and, any person that goes to law school, um, the first class that we take, or one of the first classes that we take, is criminal law. And the first thing we learn in criminal law is the definition of residential burglary. And
Mhm.
residential burglary, and see how, everything goes in a circle. I went
Right,
to law
right.
school because of the situation that I was in. And I
Right.
wanted to make sure other people weren't messed over like I was. Residential burglary is the breaking and entering into a house or a dwelling at night with the intent to commit a felony or a theft therein.
Mhm.
I was 13. I was 12 and a half, 13,
Mhm.
sleeping
Mhm.
in this house, abandoned home. You decided to take this kid who was a foster youth and place him in a system
Mhm.
that wasn't really we call it the justice system, but it wasn't really
Far
justice.
from that, right?
Right. And so it's far from, justice. And you tell him, oh, take this plea, but he'll lose the plea, or, he'll lose because he'll lose trial. Take this plea or you'll lose trial.
Mhm. And then not having adequate representation either.
Adequate counsel,
Mhm.
exactly. And you take the plea, and it's not as good, as it's similar to your regular charges. You're going to have a criminal record anyway. And
Right. Mhm.
so I decided to take a plea, and a plea was residential burglary without a strike, because in California we have the three strike rule.
Mhm.
Three strikes and you're out. The DA refused to give me the strike, but wanted me to take residential burglary, which I pled no contest to a residential burglary,
Okay.
a felony charge. I sat in juvenile hall, Central, Los Padrinos, and
Mm.
Sylmar Juvenile Hall.
I know all about them. You know I do. I worked with, those of you guys who know me from way before my YouTube journey, you guys will know that I was a group home supervisor. So I dealt with on the regular basis foster kids, and I also dealt with juvenile hall kids. So I'm very familiar with how all of that worked out for you, right?
Right.
So now, after doing this, going through this whole charge, and then you said, you know what, I want to be a lawyer. I want to enter into this realm.
I don't think it was at that moment I was like, I
Mhm.
want to become a lawyer. However, I've always had this advocate, mindset to advocate for others around me. Um,
Mm,
and
okay.
studying, policies within the group homes that I was in. Are we East or West?
Are we East or West? I had a feeling that was going to come up, y'all. Y'all would have had to have been there for that moment. I don't want to take away from what you're saying, but
No, go for it.
you guys, as a group home supervisor, I had to learn how to sometimes give our kids tough love.
Mhm.
And in this moment, David was so upset with me. He was so upset that he told me, yeah, and I will bust you in your nut. And I sat there, y'all, and because I'm so used to people talking to me like this in the group home realm, I sat there and said, I bet you'll need me before I need you. And so me and the other kids was just laughing because he was so mad. He was ready to take the TV off the wall. And we were just letting him have this moment, because here's what I did understand about him is that this is a kid who life has not been easy. I had read his whole file. So I knew that there was anger built up in him. So anytime he had to release it, I'm not gonna punish you for it. I was letting him at it, y'all. And so he got on the phone and he was like, I'm calling ombudsman. He gets on the phone and ombudsman says, well, sir, are you East or West? And he says, Miss T. And I said, what? Are we East or are we West? And I said, I told you was gonna need me before. Yeah. It was so funny. I think he just hung up the phone at that point. Like, you know what?
No, I went and I talked to Batty.
Jerry. What was it, Jerry?
No, it was Batty.
Oh, you want to talk to Betty? Yeah. Betty was my old partner. Okay, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
y'all. We totally digress. We totally digress. But I needed y'all to understand that me and him, we go way back. We go way
Right.
back. So just so you guys understand that I understood where he was coming from, because as you guys heard what he just said, he was a young child trying to
Right.
figure out California's judicial system without
Hmm.
providing him adequate counsel. So it
Hmm.
starts at just a young age. The unfairness starts at a young age. And I'm almost ready to say, but because he was black, it was easier to charge him because he was in an abandoned building. No one saw him as just a child. Like, why is this child sleeping in an abandoned building? Why has no one filed a missing persons report? This is a child. Like, there were so many other factors, but the first thing that they did do was make sure that they charged him for entering into an abandoned building to go to sleep. He couldn't steal nothing. And so right now we're already seeing the adversities that you've been facing since you were a child.
And even prior to that, I was, I'll open up a little bit. I was by my older cousin at 3,
Mhm.
which prompted the CFS to step in and take me and my siblings away. But they didn't place us in good environments. They split me up from the rest of my siblings. And I eventually got adopted at 6. But this home, I was reporting, mental,
Mhm.
physical, verbal, any type of you can name it. I was experiencing it in that home and I was reporting it. However, my reports went unfounded. And, that was until I was 11 where I came out as gay and I was told that I couldn't live in that home and be a, and, I had already experienced, all of this physical and emotional and, abuse in this home and in its environment. And to be thrown out on the street with nothing after reporting this type of social workers.
Hey, what's going on, and it going unseen. So now not only are you going unseen, but they're also taking away your voice.
Right.
They're taking away your power.
Right. And that was anti-Blackness, that was homophobia, that was, a bunch of,
so
factors
many things that are still in existence today. Right.
Right. And, as I got older and I was able to look at my court reports and read and understand, what I found out was that other kids were experiencing the same type of abuse. And, it baffled me. I wasn't the only one reporting this. When I left, kids were still reporting that same kind of and the reports kept coming back unfounded. And so I realized that there was a flaw in our system.
Yes.
And that I needed to become a voice of change.
Okay.
That I was that voice of change.
So let me ask you this. So once you got to college and you said you wanted to become a lawyer, but somehow that changed, right?
Well, it never changed. I still want to become a lawyer, pursue law. I still want to represent people.
Okay.
However, getting more involved in law school and in politics, that changed my mindset. That made me realize that we need more real people pursuing public office. We don't need, the squeaky clean peoples are the ones you need to watch out for. Because if they're squeaky clean,
I'm going to say this, nobody on this earth is squeaky clean. So if you come and your profile is popping up nothing, it means you hiding something. Hello.
Exactly.
Hello. Because I'm just sorry, because everybody has a past, and I'm not here to judge anybody by their past. And I've always said this. I don't know if you guys have ever realized this, but I've always found like the best pastors were the ones with a background, the ones that have a past. Because if you want me to change and you want me to do better and you want to preach what we should be doing and you want me to practice what you believe in, how can I take your word if your background is squeaky clean? Because if you're a politician and your background is squeaky clean, to me, I honestly
you don't have any lived experience.
What experience are you coming from? You're coming from a very, very empathetic view. You can't be sympathetic because you've never been through what I've been through.
Right.
And you're making decisions for how our communities are to operate. You're making decisions on the resources that our communities are supposed to have. How? And you've never been in this position.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. And that's why I decided to pursue public office, because I felt that, my community needed me. We have politicians who are jumping around to different seats, changing their addresses to run for this particular seat when they don't live in a district. And so we see homelessness piled up on our streets. We see, drug addicts. We see,
mental health,
mental health, poverty. We see all of that because we have elected officials, Black, Latino, white, who don't about you or me. And that's why I decided to step up and pursue public office.
Okay.
Because I am my community.
Hello. Tell them one more time. Say that one more time.
Because I am my community.
See, I like that. Because a lot of them always try to disassociate themselves from where they're at. Oh, I'm going to go into this community today. You're going to go into it. It should feel natural to you. It should feel like home to you, right? Too often I see that on the news, especially here in LA. So let me ask you. So now that you have decided to go into public office, what is it about public office that you want to change? What are the things that you feel that you bring to the table to make these changes happen?
Like I said, I am my community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hide anything. I'm an open book. If you want to know something about me or my past, I will 100% open to telling you and letting you know the deal. Like, hey, yeah, I did this when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this happened. However, this is where I am now. My neighbor, you know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
a long time ago. However, now he owns a mechanic shop,
Change person.
a
Whole
changed
different
person.
person.
So people can change and do good things. And now he hires other people who've been convicted of felonies and misdemeanors that other people won't hire.
Right, because they're
And
afraid
that's
to have them in their
right,
establishments, right?
right. And that's why I'm running. And that's why I ran.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I will continue to pursue public office if I don't win.
Right. So you're going to continue even if you feel like I've been knocked down. So
Mm-hmm.
with pursuing the public office,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that you are gay, and I know that you are openly gay, and I know that you are Black, and I can see that you're Black, right? How
Mm-hmm.
have those two characteristics played a role in keeping you from reaching the goal that you're ultimately trying to reach?
Um, Los Angeles, or the Black community in Los Angeles makes up 8% of the community.
Mm-hmm.
We make up 55+% of the homeless population. Black men makes up 85% of the homeless population, and 90% of the people homeless, our housing insecure neighbors on Skid Row, are Black.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Anti-Blackness, discrimination.
Mm.
Black youth lead in the homeless population when it comes to race, or Black youth lead in the homeless population
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to youth and race.
So let me ask you this. Why
And
do you think it is our Black youth and that number associated with them is so high? What is the correlation in between the two? Because obviously there is a trend that's happening here before our very eyes. And
mhm,
as you know, I'm writing my dissertation on things like this about DCFS and how it's a revolving door. We're not really rehabilitating, right? So
mhm,
you're telling me that there's youth and then there's Black youth and there's these things that this idea of intersectionality, right?
mhm,
And I
yep,
don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term intersectionality, but intersectionality is the way that our demographics, our geographics, our race, our sex, our age, all these factors that make us up into subgroups are somehow bridging a gap and causing a trend to happen, right? So this idea of intersectionality comes to play. So what you're telling me is that there's a group of young Black men predominantly that's making up our homeless population here in LA, right? Why is
yes,
that? Why?
systemic race, you know,
Mm, okay. Now
systemic.
that's the other part that I'm
Mhm,
writing on, right?
mhm,
Institutionalism of how public administration, and when we think of public administration, we think of these corporations or these agencies that are supposed to be providing a service to
mhm,
help the communities. So you have Social Security, you have Department of Children and Family Services, you
you
have
uh,
all these unities that are coming together in which their design of how they help people causes institutional and systematic rape. Would you
mhm.
agree with that?
I would.
Okay.
The 1994 crime bill did something major for Black men who has been incarcerated, who are incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
What that did to Black men is said that if you've been convicted of crimes, you can't have access to public housing.
Mm-hmm.
You can access public housing.
And not only can you not access it, but you cannot have or be with anyone who has it, because if you are, that person would now lose their housing.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's the caveat to that. What we saw was in the late 90s, early 2000s, Black women were losing their Section 8 vouchers because they had husbands who had come home from these long jail stints, or boyfriends that had come home from these long stints, or baby fathers that had come home from these long stints, and they had absolutely nowhere to stay.
Right.
And then they find out that the father's in the home, and because he's a felon, you lose your Section 8 vouchers. So now we create a family full of homelessness. Right? Now, as a politician or someone who because I know you don't consider yourself a politician.
I do not. I consider myself a servant of my community.
A public servant. I consider myself a public servant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as public servants, how are we supposed to fix this for our, even if we just say for our Black and brown communities, right? Because we're starting to see the trend along the Black and brown communities is very similar, because most of our systems here in LA, from my personal experience, targets Black and brown. That's it.
Right.
So how do we
I think we need to improve, in our servicing to Black people. I see our brown community being serviced at a higher rate than, our Black community. And the numbers, I got some numbers from LASA. I sit on the Youth Advisory Committee, for a grant that's coming in from HUD.
And I want to pause for effect. Those of you who know me, you guys know I work at LASA. So he's on the board for the youth and I work there. So me and him are always like talking about numbers and talking about reports and things like that. So go ahead, carry on. I just pause for effect.
I see the numbers and, again, who holds the financial power here in California? It's the Latino community. And it goes into this whole thing of the oppressed, oppressing the oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of opportunities, a new way of discrimination. You have to be bilingual. Most positions now require you to be bilingual. In California.
Or you have to have a language access plan to be able to service multiple communities.
Right. And I think that's extremely unfair for people who have grown up in this community and who didn't necessarily take the, Spanish as a second language, or, wasn't required to take that. And then it goes back to our education, our schools, our teachers, in Watts and in Compton and in South LA, they weren't really enthusiastic about educating us, my peers, the youth. And so they gave us assignments and said, hey, do this.
Right. Go home. And I mean, and here's the thing. I have written many papers on this about how the educational system is treated unfairly within Los Angeles, in our school district. So most of you guys know it's called LAUSD. Mm-hmm. And LAUSD is made up of also charter schools and then also just their regular high schools. And you can have a school that's literally 6 minutes apart driving distance. One school will receive laptops for the children to use all throughout the year. And one school will say, oh, you have a class, you can rent out a laptop for the week and bring it back.
Some schools don't even have laptops and they get borrowed books from the next school.
And they can borrow books. They can borrow books and you have to bring it back. Or there's certain stipulations on them. Like the kids at Granada Hills Charter have laptops with already built-in internet. 6 minutes away is a school called Monroe High School. Monroe High School, you have to have internet at home already to use this same computer. And it's the same computer.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you? So already we see this idea of unfairness in our Black and brown communities, right? You see these different adversities that you yourself felt.
Right.
So now that you are an adult and you
Right.
see the unfairness, how do we train our younger generations to either combat this themselves? Because right now it doesn't seem like we're fixing anything or we're able to fix anything. Because what I do know, one of the fears that I have being a public servant in my realm is, am I too aggressive? Am I too assertive? Because, you know, when you're African American or you're of darker skin tone color, it comes off as, oh, you're just angry, you want your way and this and that, and you know, and it's like, I'm not being like that, I'm just assertive. But your assertiveness is aggressiveness, right?
Right.
So
But
how do we,
everyone else can be assertive and it not be looked at as aggressive.
but when
It's
we are public servants and we are African American and we go to them with our
public servant or not.
wants, look how they
Public
look.
servant or not. If we're Black, public servant or not, if we are Black and we speak up for ourselves, we are considered aggressive. We're considered to be vile. We're considered to be vicious. We're considered to be
And
thugs,
you can be
etc.
talking from a point of
Any,
passion.
mhm.
You can be talking
Anyone
because you
else?
are just passionate about what you do and what you represent. But that passion to Black people, it's like, oh, you're passionate, you are witty, you are woke.
Mm-hmm.
And to our other counterparts, it is, oh, she's so aggressive or he's so aggressive. Have you felt that now going into public office? Have you felt that?
Yeah, and you know, I'm not willing to conform, and that's what my
Yes,
counterparts had.
conformity.
They realized that real soon. It's that David Cunningham will not conform to your white societal norms, and that's
Okay.
period. And you know, when I got into this space, you know, I had all these Black people, you know, who were already established in
Right.
politics and public
Mhm.
office.
They've been there
Tell
for a
me,
while, right?
right, and they've conformed, and most politicians, most successful politicians, are public servants, are people who are in public office.
Mhm.
They conform to fit societal norms.
Now, let me ask you this before we get to that part, right? Because I understand that there's this fine line of conformity, but I also understand that African Americans have to have two perspectives to survive. You have a Eurocentric perspective and you have an Afrocentric perspective, and you have to be able to switch them on. So it's the difference from answering the phone at work and having your Harvard law voice and saying, hello, thank you for calling LASA. This is Tiara and I'm in the grievance department. How can I help you? Versus, what's that? You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a whole difference, right? So you have this Afrocentric and Eurocentric perspective to survive. So do you think that they are stuck in their Eurocentric, or do you think that it is flat out conformity? Because there's two different things. Because when I'm at work, I'm in Eurocentric, you know, perspective all the time, because I understand that they're looking for the professionalism. They're looking for someone to get the job done.
But that, let's back up. You said they're looking for the professionalism and they're looking for to get the job done. I believe that Afrocentric people are professional.
I agree.
I believe that we do get the job done, and we have been getting the job done for over
a long
years.
Time.
Shit, we built the damn country. We built the White House. Right. So the railroad, exactly. And so, yes, we get the job done. We are professionals.
Yes. Yes. And we often, you know, I used to say this about group homes because, you know, not to necessarily take us back, and I say this wholeheartedly, but if you notice, when you went into a group home, it was predominantly Black people taking care of those children. And it was the same way in our slave days.
And the white people were
They were
Only
up
higher.
off doing their own thing, not caring about how these kids act, not caring what.
Looking at us as dollar signs. Mm-hmm.
And when you looked at the group homes, it was us that were the ones that were trying, we were trying to provide the love, the nurturing as much as we could, because they put so many stipulations on us that there was times where if I wanted to give you a hug, I couldn't. I always had to give side hugs. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
that was considered professional, and I had
Mm-hmm.
to please both worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. We're in 2021, and Black people that are public servants are still having to fall in line, so to speak.
Right.
How do we combat that? How do we say, let me be me and still get the job done without having to, as you said, conform? How do we combat that?
Right. I live freely.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And
but
I
I
love
also
that about you.
I have a heart for my community and for the people and for Black people, Black youth, Black LGBTQ people, Black
Mm-hmm.
women, Black men. My heart is for the Black community genuinely. And I would be doing my community a disservice
Mm-hmm.
if I pretended to be someone that I was not in my pursuit for public office.
Okay.
I want my communities to say, oh, he went to Vegas last week and it's not a scandal.
Right. And it has nothing to do with a scandal.
Right.
It was
I
just he
want
went to Vegas and he had a good time.
right. And that's my council member. That's my assembly member. That's my
He's a
state senator.
real
That's my, right.
person.
And he goes and he bats for me. When he throws
Mm-hmm.
on that suit, he's that same person that was in Vegas with the
Yep.
Hennessy bottle.
Hello.
Fighting for me.
Hello. Come on. Hello.
The same person.
Look, he's invited to the barbecue.
Right. Well, y'all got his Hennessy bottle over there getting complimentary Hennessy.
Hello.
I want that to be my reputation. Yes, he did like to have a good time. Mm-hmm. Yes, he did enjoy festivals.
Right, because we see.
However, he stood in the face of adversity when them white folks, when the rest of the Black city council members, when the rest of the Latino, people went against the Black community. He stood strong and he stood in the face of adversity and he held his legislation, and it didn't become empty proclamations of nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. Black people who are in public office, there's not one single Black person who is an elected official in the state of California, the city of Los Angeles, or the county of Los Angeles, who has not watered down legislation to protect Black people, or that would have protected Black people because of who donated to them.
Right. It's when those donations start coming in, money talks. And then, it's unfortunate that people are swayed by money. People are definitely, and we see that. If you live in Los Angeles, you see it happening on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you got to be calm. You got to wait. You got to, not right now. We hear a lot of promises and it's like, not right now. Not right now is a good time. It's not a good time. It's not a good, and it's like, how long? When is it going to be a good time?
Right.
Right. So you've been facing all these adversities your whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect your mental health?
I didn't like therapy when we met. I hated going
I know.
and I had therapist ever, so I was just not feeling it at all. And so what I've realized is that you can't force anyone to heal. You cannot force anyone. And when DCFS put those stipulations,
I don't want to cut you off.
No, go for it.
Let me tell you something, because y'all know I'm writing my dissertation on this. They have now made a law to where group homes have to have what is called a short-term therapeutic residential program. It is called STRTP.
Mm-hmm.
This was added by those who sit in office and don't work in group homes. These are people who they stepped foot in a group home, and they probably stepped foot in one of the best group homes that you could step in. These are not people who worked on the direct line. And what I do know is that when it comes to someone healing, when it comes to someone talking about their PTSD, when it comes to someone talking about the secrets that they hold and they want to tell people, but they cannot because of embarrassment, because of shame, you cannot make someone do that. And I have seen one too many times where we have forced children to be a part of therapy. Now here's the caveat. We give kids in a group home list of rights. And on that list, you can say no to anything that you don't want to do. But we can terminate you from a program because you're not following our list of things to do. And on our list of things to do is to seek therapy, to actively participate in therapy.
And you can lose your privileges as well.
And you can lose your privileges to do the fun things that you need to do, right? Or you want to do. Now, here's the other caveat. We tell everyone to do these things. And then we say, but you also have the right to say no. But then we terminate you and that file follows you. So now we're labeling you as difficult to deal with because you don't want to do the things that we're asking you to do. There's so many things wrong in that. And this is why I'm writing my dissertation on this, that DCFS is a revolving door. We're not doing anything here. We're not rehabilitating children. We're not. Okay. And being someone that worked in the field for so long, I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're not.
I call it the DCFS to prison pipeline.
Because here's the thing. What made me want to write my dissertation on this, and I'm telling you this, and I'm telling everyone this, is because I had a parent come in and she said, my room used to be right there. Wow. Listen to that. She said, my room used to be right there. And she's coming to pick up her daughter for a visit for a few hours. So now it's a revolving door because what we are seeing in the societal norms that we have, in all the adversities that we're facing as public servants being in the field, you can imagine the adversities of those that have to seek the services that we have to provide, right?
Right.
So they're now saying, okay, well, whatever service you have, we want to seek it. We're seeking it out. We want to be a part of that. We want to fix it. But our version of fixing it is now creating a door that provides systematic, institutional, because the way our designs is set up, how are we introducing therapy to someone who's never heard of therapy?
Right.
How are we forcing it? Oh, you got to go in here and you got to talk to them. How? You've never met this person. We haven't even told you what therapy is.
Right. And you know, you can't do that. And, you know, coming from an environment that was trauma filled and being made to just talk to someone after, you know, not telling DCFS, you know, that I was for years. And they ignored my, you know, claims of abuse. What made you think that you can put me in this environment and I would just openly and freely talk
about it? Why am I supposed to trust you?
Exactly.
And we haven't built a rapport. We have not built a rapport. You got my case this morning. You got my file this morning. You opened it up and now you want me to, how? Right?
Exactly.
So now we're doing all that, right? And this is not just DCFS. This is every system we have, because they receive the files. You get it. You think it's this kind of person. You don't know this person. And you're expecting them to do all these things and to fall in place. So that way it makes the process easier. And that's not how it happens. All these adversities are put into your lap because of, look at where it starts at. And I'm remembering this from when you were 13 going on 14, like, and everyone's asking, like, why is he so angry? What do you mean? We've asked this child to be an adult. We gave this child rights to say no, and then we punished them because they said no. It's a system that is so flawed.
Right.
It is completely flawed. And it's filled with these adversities, right?
Right.
So now Where do we start? How do
Some
we
of the
fix it?
system, I would say the system is working the way that the system was created to work. When we look at it, you know, Black people, we weren't even supposed to be able to be here doing this.
Mm-mm. Oh, honey, me and you right now doing this, and you think back,
Drinking French wine,
right?
French wine.
How did you afford it? How did you?
Shenanigans.
How did you get it without thinking that we stole it?
Exactly. I
You know,
walked in there and swiped that Amex card.
mm, hello, because they gave me one. But these adversities that we face, and people don't understand that it's not just one adversity of just saying it's just my race, because here it is. Your adversity started at the age of 13 and 14. You're
I
charged with
know my adversary started at the age of 3.
at the age of 3 because someone took advantage of you.
Hmm.
So now someone has taken advantage of you and no one believes you because it's hard for you to even express what has happened to you, right? You're 3 years
Hmm.
old. You don't know what happened to you. That's a memory. That's not what you really remember, right? I can only imagine how many times you were told that, because of course they don't want to believe that this grown person did that, right?
Right.
And to me, it's like, oh no, I would have believed you. Adversity start for you at that age, right? So now, as a
Hmm.
grown adult, how do you deal with these adversities that happen to you on a day-to-day base? Because they're happening on a day-to-day base.
Right. Um, Therapy. To be honest, when
Okay.
I first got into therapy, I treated it at or like got into it. Like, yeah, I want to see a therapist. I want to talk this out with someone. When therapy became cool to me, um,
Mm-hmm.
I treated it as a dating process. I met with different people,
So you
and
found
I
the right one.
until I found the right one, and it
Mm-hmm.
has always been Black women that I can relate most to.
Mm-hmm.
And also seeking that
The mother figure that
motherly
you're not
vibe
able
and
to have.
intuition and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
someone keeping it real with me, someone that I can talk to
Mm-hmm.
and be open with, and someone that'll come back and be like, nah, you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it this way next time.
Right. Okay.
Or, you're in a good place. You're good,
Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's gonna be all right.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that I'm able to freely talk to. And that's how I, deal with my adversities on a daily basis. Um, a couple of months ago, that article came out about me.
Mm-hmm.
Most people knew half of that stuff happened. Yes, I was born David Cunningham. Yes, I got adopted. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
decided to change my name back. And yes, 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 yes. And I've always been open with it. How do
No,
you,
you
and
always
then
have.
it,
You've always been, since this journey, since I've been able to watch this
Mhm.
journey, it has always been you being up forth and honest. And I don't know if that's a Libra thing, because I think that's one thing that we have in common is like we're just gonna be upfront. I don't got time to lie to you, right? Like
Right.
I don't got time. So
You gonna
let
take
me,
it or you not?
right, you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. And it really don't make me a difference, because one thing I will always say to y'all is your desire, like my desire for you and what you have going on, it's not required.
Exactly.
Your approval is desired but not required.
Exactly.
And it's like I'm going to continue to live my life. I would love to have your
Hmm.
approval. I would love to, but it's not required. I don't need it to do what I'm doing.
Right. And the reason why they came after me that hard is because a non-political slate, which was my slate,
Mhm.
with a group of young people,
Mhm. Mhm.
was able to beat out the establishment. And so
Of
they
course.
said, we're going to go after him.
Mhm.
And we're going to go after this guy over here. And we're going to take his story and we're going to twist and turn it to make him look even worse.
But you can't make me look no worse than what I already look. Baby, my past is my
Exactly.
past. I cannot
Exactly.
change it. I cannot do anything to change it.
Yes, I've been to jail. Yes, I have a felony. Yes, 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 yes.
And you're still striving forward,
And I'm still
still
pushing
striving for
forward.
the best, still striving
And that
for our
makes me
community
even more qualified to represent the people of Council
because you've
District
been
9,
there.
the city of Los
You have
Angeles,
been
and the
there.
state of California.
Come through. I'm so proud.
And
I'm so
people thought,
proud.
when it came out, yeah, it did hurt. Yeah, it made me feel some type of way.
Right.
Yes, I wanted to respond, and yes, I did respond. Yes, I wanted to bust people, but I grew.
Yeah,
And
we not busting y'all in your mouth, but we want to.
we gonna bust you in this mouth
And I want you to know that I
on
have
this
the
paper,
capability to do it, but I'm not gonna do it.
right? With this pen, paper, and keyboard, I'm gonna bust you in your mouth.
All right, I'm gonna just do what I do, and I'm gonna do what I do best.
Cause your mouth gonna drop when you read what I write.
Hello, because that's one thing about a Libra. I know we can write, baby.
Yeah.
So, you guys, we have come to this point where we are about to end this episode, and I mean, we could go on and on and on. This conversation, you guys have no idea. So we've seen these adversities that come to us, and they're happening on a day-to-day base. They're happening all the time. And our ultimate goal is to try to ease what our generations to come have to deal with, because we understand that we can't combat the world, and everything that we think would be perfect is not going to be perfect. So, one day at a time, we are trying to fix the world. And even if it's just starting here within our community, which I appraise David for, because when I say that he has literally gone back to the community that in multiple ways, mentally, sexually, physically, same neighborhoods that he is protesting in. And if you guys make sure you please are following David Cunningham on his social media. Can you give us your Instagram name?
Yes, my Instagram name is David underscore Cunningham underscore is DAVID underscore CUNNINGHAM underscore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna actually type it out for them so they can see it.
Yeah, having people who live in their truth and who, what will, what actually, it's interesting because when I was in high school and when I was in middle school, I wasn't able to hold a political conversation like I am today
Mm-hmm.
with someone who's now my age. I've met high schoolers. There's
Mm-hmm.
one ninth or 10th grader that I met. You know, his name is Charles. He's amazing. He's very educated. Like he knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He's political. He can hold a political conversation and he's super involved in the community. And there's so many other people like Charles who I've met throughout, my campaign and, my pursuit for public office as someone who's genuine. And he is someone that I see vision in for our that I,
Mm-hmm.
why I see he is someone that makes me believe that there is hope for, the future generation.
Right, because ultimately, like I said, we're trying to fix things for the future generation.
Hmm.
We're not necessarily trying to fix things for today.
Exactly.
It's the generation that's coming up that has no idea that these adversities even exist.
Hmm.
Because when I was younger, I didn't understand that, me being a Black woman going into public servancy and thinking about public administration and trying to change policies. Like, I'm in the midst of writing policies for LASA right now,
Hmm.
and not knowing that that's where my life was going to head. But my policies that I create today are the policies that affect the people who need help.
Right.
So it's not necessarily about fixing what's today, but it's about fixing what's going to come for those that may experience some issues later.
Hmm.
And we're just trying to make that change, right?
Right.
It's a
Change doesn't
change.
happen overnight.
And it doesn't happen overnight, right? What does it say? Oh, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, right. Rome was not built in a day.
It sure wasn't, because honey, I've been in Rome. And let me tell you, I went and I said, oh, y'all was building. I saw
Right.
the Coliseum and said, y'all had bricks. So it's like I've been there, and I understand, and it's one day at a time. And David, I will continue to support you in what you are doing. I will continue to support those dreams. I will continue to be behind whatever you need. You've always been able to, text me or call me or whatever and say, look, this is what I need. I need somebody to read this. I need somebody to go over this. Tell me I'm not crazy. Whatever you need. I have always been that support, and I will continue to be that, because I genuinely believe in the person that you are, that's going into our, idea of public servancy, and you are trying to help the people.
I appreciate it. I appreciate all your support, and I, support you as well. I can't wait to call you Dr. Clark.
It's coming.
It's coming real soon, Doctor.
It's coming real soon, y'all. Y'all have no idea. Like, I just started doing some homework, so it's coming. And I can't wait to be able to be one of those people. Like, I was a part of that team, to help build this change that we are trying to change for the people of Los Angeles, because it goes beyond what we talked about here. So right. I'm hoping that I can have you on the show again later on at some point, because it's super awesome. Most and one thing I do want to say before we close out is that, again, if you guys are not following David, please make sure that you follow him on Instagram. It's David_Cunningham_. Definitely check him out. It is scrolling right here at the bottom, as you guys can see. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow him. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe on to this video, especially if you liked what you saw here today. I will have David back at some point, y'all. So if you have questions for him, please fill up the comment section. I promise me and him will be going back and forth answering those questions. And David, if you could cheers to me with this.
Cheers.
I do want to say this last thing. It is okay to have your worries and wine. And with that being said, y'all, we are out. Okay. Oh, cheers. That part. Look. All right, y'all. Bye.
Hey, y'all.